Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Sunday evening, the 8th of February 2026. I look come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's 18 minutes past 11 p.m. for our Sunday night broadcast slash Sunday evening. I do understand it's about 18 minutes past 9 p.m. in Germany, in Italy, and elsewhere across Europe, besides the UK, where it's probably 18 minutes past 8 p.m. I'm awfully annoyed. Yes, Robert, I'm back. That's LFC, the Liverpool fan, are there. Yes, I understand what your frustrations are, but it's really, really difficult to digest or process if you're a Liverpool fan, given what transpired in the game. And I say that because of the controversies that we saw. The game, I think, was marred by contentious decisions by referee Craig Paulson, who I thought could have made better judgment in those incidences. Now, I understand the I understand the frustration, and this is what I said the other week, that for as long as bad decisions keep happening, they will affect all of us at one point. One weekend you could be a beneficiary, the following weekend you could be the one, being let down by the referee. So Man City felt hard done by for what they felt were poor decisions in their game against Tottenham Hotspur in the 2-2 draw. This weekend they've been beneficiaries of the bad decisions. So that's just a trend. It is the nature of these things. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Mr. Tribe, go over my Sunday predictions. We'll get to that in a bit. LFC loser. So I do understand where Liverpool fans find themselves at this moment in time. The frustration that they carry with them following how things just transpired on the day. It's really not easy to take in, especially when you know with absolute certainty that the referee should have done better, and yet they didn't, perhaps intentionally or otherwise. So for those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time here, and help support our work, help us support continue to grow on the forum. Yes, leave me a like, leave me a subscription, a comment down in the comment section. I'll be going through all your comments and things like that. So it's been a blockbuster weekend so far. Atletico de Madrid being given a test of their own medicine as Antony fired a brilliant strike when Real Betis were beating up against Atletico de Madrid by a goal to nil. Remember, earlier on in midweek, Atletico Madrid put 5 past the same side in Real Betis. That was in the quarterfinals of the Copa del Rey. It tells you how difficult it can be to win against the same opponent in quick succession, because those two games have been within a space of 3 days, because they played on Thursday and today is Sunday. That's when they first are off in the Spanish La Liga. I think the Chucky goal should have counted. Now, again, because of what happened to Praia, I agree with the referee's decision. The goal cannot stand if you give Szoboszlai a red card. In giving the goal, you then qualify that Brad Erling Haaland and Dominic Szoboszlai have not done anything wrong in the build-up to that. So I understand that the logic would be simple to say it's an advantage. None of them touched the ball. It was already destined for the back of the net. So it's easy to justify that nobody was outrightly denied a goal scoring opportunity, if you're going to justify it that way. But until that ball crosses the line, it is up for play. So let's not let's not make it too simplistic. For those of you that are wondering, Manchester City just beat up against Liverpool by 2-1 at Anfield, which has been their second victory in as many years, because their last victory at Anfield had come in February 2021 when they went to Anfield and won there by 4-1. So the game, of course, Dominic Szoboszlai scored a wilder of a free kick to give Liverpool the lead, while in the 84th minute, Bernardo Silva scored to restore parity. And then, in stoppage time, Man City win a contentious penalty, which in my opinion should not have been a penalty, given the precedents that have been set before in this particular case for justification of penalties that have not been awarded. Because in refereeing, just much like it is in law, we tend to live by precedent. If you tell us this is a foul, then it should consistently be a foul. If it is a foul today and tomorrow it isn't, then we lack that consistency, and that's what brings up the debate. So anyway, it's my opinion that it shouldn't have been a penalty. So a penalty is awarded, Brad Erling Haaland steps up and he scores it, and it's 2-1. Now, as the game plays on, because it was 7 minutes of added time, as the game plays on, Alisson Ramsey-Becker goes for a corner kick. Liverpool cannot score off of it. They win. Man City win the ball back, try to go up front. They fail. Liverpool win the ball back. It's taken back. The Man City win the ball back and they go on a quick counter. So, in other words, Liverpool's goal is empty because Alisson is up front. The only player that had been left behind, who already was running on tired legs. Meanwhile, PSG have the second goal against Olympique Marseille. That goal scored by I think is it Nuno Mendes, because the first one was scored by Ousmane Dembele. So they lead against Olympique Marseille, a team that beat them in the first leg by 1-0. They are leading that game by 2-0 as we speak. They are in the French Ligue 1, so that game is ongoing. While Real Madrid are away to Valencia, that game is still goalless. They are in the Spanish La Liga. So let me see. Wow. Okay. Oh, come on. Don't freeze the moment. Anyways, so like I was saying, fires that ball in the roof right in front of the face of the Marseille goalkeeper, and Luis Enrique goes into jumping celebrations, something that you do not oftentimes see, you know. But wow, that was a beautiful goal. You know, the PSG president, they're showing us the PSG president, Khalifa, seems to be excited. It's Ousmane Dembele's goal. So he has a press already. So, in other words, when Man City go on the counter-attack, Rancheki is past the ball and he literally plays it or passes it into the back of the net. Now, but before the ball gets into the back of the net, Dominic Szoboszlai pulls Brad Erling Haaland outside of the area near the D or the arc on the 18 yards box. Now, in pulling him, he impedes him on getting onto that ball because Haaland had run faster than a tired Szoboszlai to go past him. So in going past him, that means he was going to get to that ball and further tap it into the back of an empty net. So Dominic Szoboszlai pulls him and impedes him. After impeding him, then Szoboszlai gains the advantage to go through. Now, before he himself, Dominic Szoboszlai, gets to the ball to clear it before it crosses the line, but Erling Haaland pulls him to the ground. And then that means both players had not touched the ball. So the ball hits the back of the net and it's a Ryan Cherki goal. The goal stands is 3-1 at that moment. Now, VAR take a review. What happened first? There was a foul committed that is worth a red card, that is worth a red card before the ball hits the back of the net. So, perhaps, and I can guarantee you that the referee had seen this firsthand on. In his mind, the decision is, I've given an advantage. There was a pull by Szoboszlai, by Brad Erling Haaland. In other words, it's more or less cancelled each other out in a way. But the ball has still hit the back of the net. So it's a Man City goal. It's 3-1. Rancheki celebrates. But then he's summoned to decide a pitch monitor for a review of what transpired before the ball hits the back of the net. And that's what Pedri is trying to allude to. That's what he's talking about. He says, to be honest, the decision to not allow the goal and give Szoboszlai a red card was also fine. Exactly. So I'm hate watching Real Madrid versus Valencia right now. I can completely understand Pedri. I'm also following the proceedings from that game, as well as watching the game between PSG and Olympique Marseille. At least not, watching by ways of keeping up with you, with the games as I give you, those updates. We have somebody called Jojo. Is it Jojo? Is that how you pronounce your name? Hi, Jojo. So now, when the referee goes to the monitor to review the incidents that transpired, that maybe he had got inside of, but perhaps is given a different angle, he realizes that Dominic Szoboszlai commits a grievous offense, which is worthy of a red card. Now, he cannot allow the goal from Rancheki and also give a red card in the same incident. It cannot happen. So he has to make one of two decisions, to either let the goal stand or give a red card. Now, which one is needed the more? Now, here's the twist of this whole situation. If that game had been 1-1 and that was Manchester City's second goal of the game, Man City players would still be up in arms for saying that a genuine goal had been cancelled. And perhaps even at 2-1, they could still argue the same case. But the referee is right in awarding a red card to Dominic Szoboszlai for pulling Brad Erling Haaland and denying him a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity. So it is the right decision to make. Now, the advantage would have been played if, in impeding Brad Erling Haaland, he somehow managed to still escape away from Dominic Szoboszlai and continue to chase down the ball, even though he does not eventually reach it. If, in impeding Brad Erling Haaland, he somehow beats him by strength. Oh, wow. Is the third goal? Jesus Christ. My screen is frozen. I don't know why. But there appeared to be it goes over the bar. Ousmane Dembele looking for his hat-trick, but that ball goes over the bar. I think it was Desiree Doué that drives the ball through and through. Anyways, so that's the incident, So if Dominic Szoboszlai pulls Brad Erling Haaland, but Brad Erling Haaland somehow uses his strength to stay on his feet, to continue running ahead of Szoboszlai, but does not get to the ball on time before it crosses the line, then the referee would have said, no, it's an advantage. Yes, he tried to impede him, but he was not successful in denying him that goal-scoring opportunity because he continued to run ahead of him. So that way, it would have been given as an advantage, and Liverpool wouldn't have had to suffer a red card. But given the chronology of events that happened that I've just explained, the red card had to be dished out. Now, before we get to that moment, excuse me, you remember the penalty incident that I talked about? Alston Ramsey-Becker being the culprit there Alston Ramsey-Becker being the culprit for bringing down, I think, was it Omar Mamouche? I'm struggling to remember who exactly it was. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But I did not think that was a penalty. Why? By the time Alston makes contact with the player, that ball is long gone and is never going to get to it. It's going outside. It's not in the face of goal. Yes, he's in the box. But yes, is Alston led to the challenge? Yes. Does he get a scrap of the ball? Not that I could judge in quick instance. But for me, it's not a penalty. No, actually, it was against Matthias Nunes, not Omar Mamouche. It was against Matthias Nunes. Now, and again, when you view the incident, it's more of two players coming together because also Ramses Baker is in front of Matthias Nunes already on the ground. So when Nunes taps into this ball and it goes out, then he clashes with Alson Ramses Baker. It's not like he's played the ball and he's still running towards it that Alson impedes him. That ball is going outside, you know? So for me, it's not a penalty. Hi, Isabella Martin. Always a pleasure to see you around, you know? Thank you for joining us once again on this beautiful Sunday evening. Roberto Di Zabi looking already a frustrated man on the touchline as his team trailed by 2-0 thanks to a brace by Ousmane Dembele in that game between Paris Saint-Germain and Olympique Marseille. It's been a brilliant game of football. I think some of the standout players have been Bradley Bacola for me. Oh, you think she's Spanish? Greet her in Spanish and see if she'll respond. Anyways, so like I was saying, some of the standout players for me have been Nuno Mendes, Bradley Bacola, of course, Ousmane Dembele. They've so far been brilliant in that game. Isabella Martin says she's not. She's not. I do not remember exactly where she said she comes from. I would have tried to guess, but yeah, your name sounds Spanish. According to Pedro, your name sounds Spanish. Maybe it's Mexican. Could it not resonate with that audience as well? You know, just wondering. You know. So, anyways, like I said, for me, in my opinion, that's not a penalty. Again, we've seen, you remember the incident between Arsenal and Newcastle at St. James's Park? Victor Gyökeres versus Nick Pope. The claim was the goalkeeper gets a touch of the ball before coming into contact with the striker. You get? Now, like I said, Alson Ramses Baker in this particular case, oh, your dad is Spanish. Okay. He comes in for the ball. Perhaps he does realize this ball is not, either he's not going to get to it, or it's going outside, or the angle is too tight for the player to play through. So what does he do? He remains on the floor because there's no hole to roll himself into to get out of the way, quote unquote. Now, but all that theory to the side, where is the ball of the direction headed? Is there a chance that Matthias Nunes gets that ball? Not in my opinion. It's already going over the line. It's already going over the line, you know, and literally going outside. So it's never going to get to it. So for me, that was not a penalty. But then also, we go back to the decision regarding Mo Salah versus McKay in the same game. McKay pulls Mohamed Salah so blatantly that he rips his shirt. Now, the contention was, in pulling him, does it go until the line of the 18 yards box before Mohamed Salah continues to slip inside the box for what turned out to be a penalty appeal? Again, it's another very subjective decision, subject to individual interpretation. But here's, first of all, I think it was either last season. Yes, I think it was last season or the season prior to that. There's a game in which Real Madrid were awarded a penalty for a foul that was committed outside the area with the culprit player committing that foul. Was it against Vinicius Jr. or Enric? One of those two players. He gets fouled from outside the area, but he proceeds and he falls into the area. So the distance between the foul and where he falls is in close proximity. And the way it was justified was that if a player is fouled and continues to be fouled going into the box, then it can be given as a penalty. It's the similar incident that we just watched between Mohamed Salah and McKay. Some Liverpool fans will be of the view that he should have been given a red card, that's McKay, for denying a goal scoring opportunity, because it was a goal scoring opportunity for Mohamed Salah. He was going to be left in a 1v1 situation with Gianluigi Donnarumma, even though Ruben Diaz was the last man. So, because Ruben Diaz is in the frame as the last man, I am not too sure it's a red card. So, referee Craig Paulson makes a decision that it's a free kick outside the area and a yellow card for McKay, another contentious decision. I do not remember particularly well on whether VAR intervened or not, because he saw the incident. In seeing the incident, he had a decision to make. The reason that's why I say do not remember, because VAR is cautioned to only intervene when there is a clear and obvious error that has not been seen by the referee or has been done by the referee. So, for example, if the referee sees a foul and awards a red card, but he awards the red card to a wrong player other than the player that committed the actual foul, that's it's called what? The referee not making the right judgment in getting the correct player. So he does give the red card to the wrong player. VAR will intervene and say, yes, there was a foul committed, but it wasn't by that player. It was by the other player. So he's the one that ought to get the red card. Then, if there is a clear and obvious penalty, but the referee does not award it or has not seen it. Now, if he awards a penalty on a 50-50, VAR will not intervene. If it does not award a penalty on what is deemed as a 50-50, they won't intervene, or they are not allowed to intervene. You remember the game I've just made reference to, the Arsenal game against Newcastle? The referee had awarded the penalty. Was it a clear and obvious error by the referee? Absolutely not. But then VAR chose to intervene anyway. And that was where the other point of contention was for the two sides, So, if we are being honest, referee Craig Paulson did not paint himself in any form of glory whatsoever in today's game. Again, some of these decisions are subjective. Like I said, for me, it shouldn't have been a penalty for Matthias Nunes. For Mohamed Salah, the reason that's why I'm declining to make an absolute judgment on that is because even when I reviewed the incident, I wasn't 100% sure of where McGay lets go before Mohamed Salah hits the ground. Is it with Salah's foot on the 18 yards box or before? Because if it's before the 18 yards box, then it's not a penalty. It's a free kick and a yellow card because he's not the last man. If Salah had 1 foot to the 18 yards box or otherwise or inside, then it should be a penalty. And like I said, ordinarily, in my school of thought, and this was due to my ignorance about the letter of the law when it came to fouls and penalties, it's until Real Madrid got awarded that penalty. Like I said, it was either last season or the season prior to that. Either it was Vinicius Jr. or Endrick that gets fouled outside the area. But in continuing to run, he falls in the area and it's awarded a penalty. And I was asking myself, how is a foul committed from outside the area, but then it's given as a penalty? And then it was justified that if you foul a player and as you continue to foul them, as they enter the area and they eventually fall in the area, then you're liable. So you say Mohamed Salah wasn't acknowledged by the referee. It felt like Craig Pawson didn't like him. Now, I do not know whether he didn't like him or not. But for me, that was a very contentious decision. And because it was a day of chaotic decisions or bad decisions, there's a frame in which Liverpool are flagged to be offside. It was either Florian or Hugo Ekitike. And in review of the incident, the player had not been offside because we saw it, but the linesman had put his flag up. And I'm thinking to myself, why not let the situation play out? Because Liverpool were driving towards goal and they could have maybe scored, maybe not. Even Arne Slot himself, after reviewing the incident, he spoke to the linesman, not in proximity, but he tried to shout someone at him saying that was an offside. In other words, he got the decision wrong. Now, I've said this before, referees, linesmen are human. They also make mistakes. They get some of the decisions wrong. And that was one of the ones. But for the one of Craig Pawson on Mohamed Salah, for me, I feel that if the referee wasn't sure, he ought to have consulted with his peers, either in the VAR room or his assistants on the sideline. So it's been that kind of day. Will you review the predictions today? Obviously, Pedri. Why not? I've already tallied the results. One, you had the perfect score for Crystal Palace's win away to Brighton. That was a perfect score, 1-0, according to what I recorded. Then you had a perfect score for Man City versus Liverpool, regardless of what our personal feelings are about the officiation of the game. At the end of the day, history will show Man City beat Liverpool 2-1. So across the entire weekend, you've had 3 perfect scores. I think the Arsenal perfect score, you had the one for Man City and the one for Crystal Palace. In total, you accumulated 15 points out of that tally. For those of you that are wondering what we are talking about, starting from Premier League match day 24, we go and predict all the 10 games. When you get a perfect score prediction, you get 3 points. Then if you get a score right in the form of a win for one team, regardless of the scoreline, or a draw, regardless of the scoreline, you get 2 points. So this weekend, Pedri tallied 15 points. Realist, I tallied 8 points for match day 5. So at the end of the season, we'll do a summation and see who came out on top in terms of these predictions. So I recorded 8 points for this game week. So from game week 20, match day 24, I had 13 points. He had 11. This time around, I had 8. He had 15. That's what the records show. So, and we did agree that we take note of our respective, I understand, our respective predictions just for, honesty's check, but we'll try to be as honest as possible with this prediction. So, meaning our next match day prediction is going to come tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be predicting games because we have fixtures on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for match day 26 of the Premier League. So, for match day 27 of the Premier League. So get yourself ready for those as well. You say, and I was one game down. I didn't predict Leeds Forest. Yeah. So in other words, if you had predicted the Leeds game, you would have possibly ended at 17 points because your prediction, you're saying it was 2-1. And that was after the game had ended 3-1. So yeah, you had a near perfect weekend. Of course, I think there are about 2 games that you got wrong. that we both got wrong. The Everton game, we had both gone for a 1-1 draw. Everton 1-2-1. Then the other game was, I think, Aston Villa. Yes, we had all predicted for Aston Villa to win against Bournemouth. That one ended in a 1-1 draw. So those are the two games where you lost out. So, anyways, so that was it, you know. But for me, and and the funny thing about today's game, those weren't the only incidents. There's another incident, again, for a pull by Bernardo Silva on Mohamed Salah in the area. And then the referee whipped that away. Literally. It's in the area. And I'm thinking to myself, why does Bernardo Silva have to do that? Because for me, because it's so blatant, he's in the area and impedes him. Why is that not a penalty? One, it's easy to argue it was soft. Now, I've always argued this way on this contentious, decision, because I've seen some fouls look soft, and sometimes players get penalized for them. Now, you remember the Manchester derby? You remember that high boot on the knee by Diego Dalot on Jeremy Doku's knee, and it's not given as a red card? Like I said, in the wake of that game, in a snapshot, it looked soft, and had the referee, but I did also argue that if the referee had been summoned to the monitor, he would have given a red card. Or if he thought it was a straight red card in his own on-field decision, I do not think VAR would have overturned that. But Diego Dalot escaped with that. Fast forward, we get to the Tottenham Man United game, and Christian Romero fouls Casemiro, and that is a straight red card. So then, I do not remember. There's the foul by, I think, Brian Brobby in their loss to Arsenal. I don't remember exactly whether it was against Martin Zubimendi. That was questionable. So, like I keep saying, if a foul is deemed worth of a red card this weekend, do not come back to tell us next weekend that it is not worthy of a red card, because then that is a show of inconsistency. Now, and I say that because you do not come back to say, we admit we were wrong in the other incident, so going forward, that should not be a red card. They would understand. But if you justify the other as being a red card and come back the subsequent weekend and we see similar fouls, and then you justify them as not red cards, then that is inconsistency. So, Liverpool had two penalty shoutouts, both involving Mohamed Salah, one with a pull by Bernardo Silva and the other by Mark Cahill. None was given. In the incident I explained involving Alson Ramsey-Becker and Matthias Nunes, in my opinion, that's not a penalty. Look at the direction of the ball. Look at the space between the foul, where the foul is committed, quote unquote, and the line, that ball going out. In no world does he get to that ball with that touch, because he has a heavy touch, and it's two players coming together. Like I said, Alson Ramsey-Becker is already within the vicinity. But that's there for the checking. That's there for the checking. So for me, I thought Craig Pawson just had a very bad day in office. And while speaking to the press in the aftermath of the game, Anna Slot, the Liverpool manager, said, and I quote, oh, Jesus Christ. He said, they've not been too lucky with referees this season. He says they've not been too lucky. So he thinks they've not been very lucky with refereeing decisions at home this season. Is it luck? I've always argued you need luck to be on your side for some of these things to go your way. Without luck, you're bound not to go far. So, Man City were the lucky ones this weekend to not concede a penalty in one of the two incidents. In any case, both incidents could have easily been penalties. But they walked away with it. They walked away with it. The same way Solanke walked away with it for his foul against McKay the previous weekend that saw Man City get accosted points, you know? So, speaking about the game, he says, if you follow the rule book, you have a clear shot pull from McKay on Mo Salah, who, for 8 years, is scoring that goal every time. So, he sees a key inconsistency. Anna Slot points out to what he sees as the key inconsistency in refereeing after Liverpool's defeat against Man City. Now, and this is the other thing I always argue about football. Refereeing decisions can determine a team's fate at the end of the season. Now, how does that happen? It won't be that every weekend or every match day that team gets bad decisions. No. It could be one game that determines their fate. It could be one game that determines whether you win the league title or not. It could be one bad refereeing game decision that determines whether you stay in the top flight or you get relegated to the championship. It could be that one game that determines whether you get UEFA Champions League football or not, whether you qualify for the Europa League or the UEFA Conference League football or not. So, in this particular case, for example, if you're Man City, you're thinking to yourself, had that goal not stood against Tottenham Hotspur, you win that game possibly 2-1. And if you win 2-1, you're within 4 points behind Arsenal. And this weekend you win away to Liverpool, you stay within 4 points. But because you drop 2 points or you are forced to drop 2 points there, you find yourself 6 points behind. Is it fair? No. But also Liverpool will make the same argument against Man City to say, if the referee does not award that penalty, the game stays 1-1. If the referee awards us what we believe are 2 penalties, because for Anna Slot, he believes that because it was a goal scoring opportunity that he denies, Mo Salah, McKay should have been given a red card. So, is it fair to Liverpool? No, it's not. You remember when I said Rodri had no moral authority to be the one claiming that the referee was not being fair, that was not being neutral? I said he of all people should not be the one making the argument, whereas the case he was raising was valid. You know? Now, is he going to come out today and say, yeah, we got away with some really, really bad decisions? We were lucky to get away with it because the referee was not neutral today. Is he going to say that? No, he's not going to say that because it worked to their advantage. You know, because it worked to their advantage. So, I keep saying, it's easy to justify certain things for as long as they are not impacting us. You know, it's easy to justify them or to agree with the decisions if they benefit us. For example, for Man City, for the penalty they get, Arsenal versus Matthias Nunes, that's going to be easy for them. It's easy for them to justify. There's contact from Arsenal Ramsey-Becker or Matthias Nunes. That's all that counts for them. But are they being honest? Not 100%. Because they will know, Bernardo Silva will know that he got lucky for not being given a penalty against him for his pull on Mohamed Salah. McKay will know he got lucky. You know? The stakes are high. And yet, the standards of the decisions in themselves are wanting, are really, really wanting. So we are not discussing how good or bad the game was, because in overall, the game in itself was, the first half was dull. First of all, it was a game of missed chances, but Erling Haaland, in as early as the second minute, he misses a glorious opportunity. Omar Mamouche missed an opportunity. In fact, I think he missed two chances in the first half. Liverpool on the other side, Hugo Ekitike missed about 2 or 3 chances in the game. You know, then we had a brilliant attempt from Antoine Semenyo that he saved. It took Liverpool 25 minutes to get their shot on target in the first half. They had been that poor. They looked miles off of it in the first half. In the second half, they came back with a fight. They had more grit in as far as Liverpool were concerned. You know? So there's no world in which we're going to justify those decisions, really. So, take out Liverpool fans. You'll know this is an unlucky weekend. Now, again, you remember what I just gave as an example for the impact of refereeing decisions in reference to Man City? Look at Liverpool. Top 4 is at stake. Top 4 is at stake. And here they are, losing all 3 points against Man City. In their own minds, they should be going on with the point. They should be winning that game. But that's not the case. That's not the case. You know? Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Anyways. Meanwhile, the game between Paris Saint-Germain and Olympique Marseille is already back for the second half. We'll keep tabs on that. Real Madrid, not yet, possibly. But quickly, earlier on Super Sunday, Crystal Palace had beaten up against Brighton by 1-0. That was at the Amex Stadium. That goal by Ismail Sarr, with Ivan Guasen providing the assist in the 61st minute, was enough to ensure that Crystal Palace won that game by 1-0. Very, very important 3 points. Very, very important 3 points. Very important. The significance of those 3 points on the Premier League table will show. Will show. And I say that because when you look at the Premier League table, those 3 points saw Crystal Palace move from 15th to 13th with 32 points. They had been at 29 points. Meanwhile, Brighton slipped to 14th place because they are at 31 points. You know? Okay, so there are only 2 games on Super Sunday, of course, obviously. Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyways, so we move on. Elsewhere, Bayern Munich, wow. Bayern Munich, what a victory they had today. But earlier on in the Spanish La Liga, Getafe beat up against Deportivo Alves by 2-0. Athletic Bilbao won by 4 goals to 2 against Levante. Sevilla and Girona shared the spoils in a 1-all draw, while, like I told you earlier on in the preamble, Atletico de Madrid lost to Real Betis by a 1-0. That goal scored by Anthony. Bilbao's goals were scored. For Bilbao, for Levante, they had to play majority of that game with the manless following the send off of Maturo. That was in the 17th minute, and then Gruzeta scored a brace in that one, as well as Serrano and Navarro were the goal scorers for Bilbao. As we speak, Real Madrid at halftime and Valencia is still goalless. In the in the German Bundesliga, RB Leipzig beat up against Cologne by 2 goals to 1, while Bayern Munich beat up against Hoffenheim by 5 goals to 1. Bayern Munich back to winning ways after a slip in 2 games in which they lost one and drew the other. Again, a red card in that one by Akpoguma got a red card for the Hoffenheim side. Harry Kane scored a penalty. Actually, Harry Kane scored 2 penalties. Luis Diaz scored a hat-trick in that one as Bayern Munich returned to winning ways with that victory, 5-1 against Hoffenheim. In the Italian Serie A, Bologna lost to Parma by 1-0. Lecce beat up against Udinese by 2 goals to 1, while Sassuolo lost to Inter Milan by 5 goals to 1. Goals from Yannick Besic, Marcus Thuram, Lautaro Martinez, Manela Akanji, as well as Luis Enrique were enough to beat up against a 10-man Sassuolo. Sassuolo got a red card to Nemanja Matic. That was in the 54th minute. Nemanja Matic there, the former Chelsea and former Chelsea midfielder and Man United was there. Then, as we speak, Juventus are 2-0 down against Lazio, and that game is in the 58th minute. So that's what is happening as we speak. In the French Ligue 1, Nice and Monaco shared the spoils in a goalless draw. Angers beat up against Toulouse by 1-0. Auxerre and Paris FC shared the spoils in a goalless draw. Le Havre beat up against Strasbourg by 2 goals to 1, while PSG are leading up against Olympique Marseille by 2 goals to 0. Those goals scored by Ousmane Dembele. So okay. Now, like I've told you, Premier League action will continue for match day 26 in midweek. We have no Monday night football, but our games will come on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those Thursday will be Arsenal away to Brentford. Excuse me. But yes, at 10:30 p.m. East African time, Chelsea will be up against Leeds. That's on Tuesday. Everton at the same kickoff time take on Bournemouth. Tottenham will be at home against Newcastle, while West Ham at 11:15 p.m. will entertain Manchester United. On Wednesday, Aston Villa at 10:30 p.m. will be at home against Brighton. Crystal Palace will entertain Burnley. Man City will be at home against Fulham, while Nottingham Forest will be at home against Wolverhampton Wanderers. All games kicking off at 10:30 p.m. while at 11:15 p.m. Sunderland will be at home against Liverpool. Remember, Sunderland are the only team that are still unbeaten at home. That is at the Stadium of Light. I think they are 4th on home form in terms of points accumulated at home. Then on Thursday, Brentford entertain Arsenal. And then over the weekend, it will be the FA Cup before a Wednesday fixture between Wolves and Arsenal in the Premier League. So expect that to be coming your way. Okay, now, given that Man City won and got themselves back within 6 points of the Premier League leaders, Arsenal, because prior to the kickoff of that game, there were 9 points adrift. Now, with that victory, it means they are back to 6. So let's assess the two sides, or let's look at the fixtures. Both sides have the next 7 fixtures. That is between February and I think March before the international break. That's the period we're looking at. Is it before the international break or after the international break? Anyway, anywhere in between there. Okay, so for Arsenal, like I said, they have Brentford on Thursday. Then on Sunday, they play at home against Wigan in the FA Cup. That's a fourth round. Then Wednesday, 18th Feb, there will be, that is when Ramadan is expected to kickstart, by the way. Arsenal will play away to Wolves. Then on the 22nd of Feb, that will be Sunday, they will play away to Tottenham Hotspurs. Then on first match, they'll play at home against Chelsea. It will be Sunday. On Wednesday, fourth match, they'll play against Brighton before playing on the 15th of March at home against Everton. So yeah, that's the run of fixtures. I think 15th March should be the last fixture before we go for the international break. Then Man City. Man City, I think Man City in this run of fixtures have it fairly easier. The next game on Wednesday is going to be at home against Fulham. In other, they're going to play 3 home consecutive games. At home against Fulham, at home against Salford in the FA Cup, at home against Newcastle, 21st Feb. In the aftermath, speaking of Newcastle, in the aftermath of losing yesterday's game by 3-2, Ed Howe was self-critical and he said he's not doing a job good enough. And he said he doesn't need to feel under pressure because he already puts himself under lots of pressure to be his best. But so far, he's not doing a very good job. And for me, when I was reading those comments, as fair as they come from a man being honest with himself, it sort of does feel like a man whose job is on the line, a man who is being told, if you do not achieve this, you could be shown the exit, but also a man who is acknowledging his own shortfalls. So after Newcastle, on the 21st of Feb, Man City will play away to Leeds United, then return on 4th match at home against Nottingham Forest. Then they'll play at home. They'll play away to West Ham United, and then at home against Crystal Palace. So when you look at what would be some of the difficult fixtures, these are going to be at home. Fulham can be a tricky fixture, but it's at home. Newcastle, very off form, looking not so good, but on a given day, they can give you a run for their money. And I stand to be corrected, but Newcastle, did they beat Man City 2-1 in the first leg? So, anyways, then the other game that you'd say is difficult is Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace can be a bit of a thorn in the foot, you know. So, that one is also at home. And yet, when you compare for the Arsenal, they have Brighton at the Amex. Not an easy game for Arsenal. They have Brentford away, difficult game. They have Tottenham Hotspurs away. 2 of the games also difficult. Chelsea is at the Emirates and Everton at the Emirates. Those are 2 difficult games. Wow, Bradley Barcola just missed a golden opportunity to make it 3-0 for Paris Saint-Germain here in this game. Meanwhile, Real Madrid are back for the second half. I need to return to that fixture between Valencia and Real Madrid. So, in the next 7 fixtures, those are the games that will be coming for Man City and Arsenal. Remember when I was talking to you about the advantages of avoiding a playoff? Just imagine one of these 2 sides was involved in a playoff. That means in between there, in February, they would have 2 UEFA Champions League fixtures to play. That means more minutes for your players and less resting time. That means more load on your players. So yeah. Oh, PSG have scored. It is 3-0 at long last. Olympique Marseille are having a very poor run of form. First of all, they exited. Oh, it's an own goal. Unfortunately, Joao Neves In trying to cross the ball, hits the Marseille defender's header and beats the goalkeeper to the near post, and it's 3-0. But like I was saying, Olympic Marseille have had a poor run of form ever since their exit from the UEFA Champions League. You know, we know for a fact that in the wake of their exit from the UEFA Champions League, Olympic Marseille nearly sacked Roberto De Zerbi. We did get reports that he himself, De Zerbi, had resigned, but they decided to stick with him. It's not looking easy for him over there. He's one of those managers that has been spoken about in the direction of Manchester United. However, in my list of managers who I think could possibly become the next Man United managers, I didn't even include him. And that video should be coming out this week. Of course, there's another video about Man United that we did. I thought we would have released it earlier on, but then the Man City Liverpool game was too big. So I figured you guys would be caught up in that. So we'll release it tomorrow morning. We'll release that one tomorrow morning. So yeah, keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel and make sure you do not miss out on anything. So it should be premiering tomorrow there. Isabella Martin, hi to you too. So that's what basically transpired on Super Sunday. And what's, oh, wow. It's 4. Roberto De Zerbi can't believe it. It's 4. They're getting obliterated by PSG. I think it's Kivica Kvaratskhelia with the goal. Was it Kivica or Vitinha? I think it was Kivica Kvaratskhelia. What a goal. Achraf Hakimi, who is on a red card, he got a red card in their 2-1 victory over, was it Strasbourg? Yes, against Strasbourg. Wow, what a sweet strike by Kivica Kvaratskhelia. He had just come on as a second half substitute, and on the half volley, he scores, and it's 4-0 in favor of Paris Saint-Germain. There, beautiful, beautiful goal. Meanwhile, Real Madrid is still goalless against Valencia. I had to go do chores. Okay, understandable. But you're back. Always a pleasure to see you around. But we have also come to the tail end of our broadcast. Maybe I needed to bring you some reactions. Okay, just a bit. Yes, about those comments from Ed Howe. Ed Howe said, and I quote, "There is a harsh reality for me. I need to think long and hard about me. I need to work better and do more, work out solutions. I need to take full responsibility for what you see on the pitch. I always feel under pressure, so it's irrelevant to me. The pressure I put on myself couldn't be more extreme. I'm obviously not doing my job well enough. It's a difficult moment for us. There is no denying it. Today, we have to take full accountability." Those were the comments of Ed Howe. Like I said, for me, one, these are comments that these are comments from a manager that is being honest with himself. These are comments coming from a manager who acknowledges that his side are the team to have dropped the most points from a winning position, as many as 19 this season, more than any other side in the Premier League. These are comments from a manager that feels the pressure, even though he's telling you he doesn't feel it. Because once you acknowledge that you put yourself under pressure to be good at what you do, to always perform, every time you do not live to your own expectations, you are under pressure, both internally and now externally, because the fans keep wondering, when is he going to bounce back? For those of you that do remember, we do have a follower on this channel called Dennis Jukes. He's a Newcastle fan. And I remember earlier on in the season, he was saying that he thinks this should be Ed Howe's last season, and we talked about potential managers for them. And I remember he had a view of Jose Mourinho, who I said he's obviously better than Ed Howe, although I kind of, for me, feel like I have that feeling of the modern game has sort of stepped away from Jose Mourinho. It's not to say he cannot catch up, but that's my feeling about him. We mentioned Julian Nagelsmann, the German national team manager, among those managers who are sort of, you would consider elite managers that could come in at Newcastle and turn their fortunes. Now, in the wake of the sacking of Enzo Maresca, he's also available for the taking. Maybe Xabi Alonso, if he's okay going, to Newcastle to take on that job. So they do have options, but if things continue the way they've been going by the trend of this season, then clearly Ed Howe may not blame his bosses if they choose to part ways with him at the end of the season. So possibly we'll wait to see and hear more in regards to so we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, guys, it's been now 1 hour of doing this. Why don't you allow me wish you a blessed night and I get to my other night duties. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Isabella Martin, Pedri, LFC, there, and every single one of you that has managed to stay in touch with us for the entirety of tonight's podcast. Have your blessed night. Continue enjoying the game between PSG and Olympique Marseille, as well as Real Madrid against Valencia. Bye-bye from me. See you tomorrow. Thank you.